Good evening. Today I'm going to share with you how I start a brick stitch earring. So we'll do the base row first, and I don't have a pattern in mind. Well, I mean, I do have a pattern in mind, but I'm not following a graph paper. It's just a simple pattern that I'm going to do, and we'll get started. Okay, so all I did was all I'm going to do is just wrap the thread around my pinky just to give me a secure line to hang on to. And then I'm going to pick up my, to start the base row, I'm going to pick up 2 beads. So I've chose traditional colors, black, red, orange, yellow, and white. So I've picked up the 2 beads. And I put the color that I want on the outside perimeter of the pattern is going to be the black, and the red will be working towards the center on the inside row. So as you pick up a bead, you'll be working towards the center. Now the number of beads that I have are that I'm going to be using for the base row is 15. Okay, so now I got my 2. I picked up a black and a red bead, and I'm just going to pull the thread through. Now what I want to do is I want to take my thread and needle and just go up through the black bead and through the red bead. So I'm going to go through both of them. And what this is going to do is going to create a loop, and then you want to pull the thread. So nothing is happening right now with the beads. So now that I've done that, what I want to do is, if you can see, there's a loop right here. So so we just came out of the red bead. So now I'm going to follow this loop and go through the black bead. So there. So the red bead, the loop goes around, and I'm going to follow that loop. And I'm just going to go through the black bead for now. Pull my needle through, and right now they've lined up. This is exactly how I want them to be. But as I bead the base row, I find they don't always line up exactly like that. So now I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna take my needle and thread. I'm not gonna pick up a bead just yet, but I'm gonna go through the top of the red bead. So this is the same side that we just came through, and I'm gonna go through the top of the red bead through to the bottom. And I'm going to pull my needle and thread through. Now you can see that the beads kind of moved around. That's going to be okay, because as you add more beads on, they will end up more they'll end up where they'll stand up a little bit side by side. Okay, now I'm going to get ready to add on the next color. Now, because I already have a pattern or a design in mind, I'm going to pick up a black bead, and I'm going to pick up a black bead, and I want to take my needle and thread and go through the top of the red bead. Just like that. And then the bead is just on the needle, and then I'm just going to pull the thread and needle through, pull it down. See how neat that lines up? Now it may not stay that way once I pull the thread through again, so I'm going to go through, come up through the black bead, and all I'm doing is I'm just looping it around. So what I've done is I've just looped it around here, up and out. Now I'm going to repeat that for the next bead. Okay, so I always want to take my needle and thread when I'm doing the brick stitch, and just creating multiple loops. So I'm going to go through the bottom and we'll end up going through the top, pulling that through, and I'm going to do another loop here. Now the first row always looks kind of jumbly, but that's okay, because the more beads we add on, well, that's not necessarily true either. The first row always looks kind of jumbly. So I'm going to keep going, and the reason why I'm not so concerned about it is because when I start adding on the next row, that's when the beads will start lining up a little more straighter. So I'm just going to keep doing this until I get to the end of my pattern. So as I go along, I kind of hold my thumb over the beads just to keep them in line. That helps to keep them in straight up and down. And then I just try to slide it over a little bit on my finger. Through the top and down through to the bottom. And then I'll just put my thumb over them all and then put that there, go up through the bottom and pull it through, and then keep going with the next colors. So go through the bottom and up through the top. Just want to hang on to that bead so it doesn't move around too much. And as you can see, the beads are starting to stay in place. So I'm going to keep adding on. I'm going to grab an orange bead, go through the top, pull it through, hold it in place, go through the bottom up, pull it through, and keep just repeating that. So you can see the beads are starting to create the pattern. Create the pattern that I want. Okay, so now go through the bottom and up through the top. Pull that through. Do Do that again without the bead. So I'm getting to the end of just a few more beads I need to add on. So black goes through the top. Pull that through. Hold that bead in place. And pull it nice and tight. Not too tight. You don't want to pull it too tight because when you start adding on the rows, what happens is you need your needle and thread to go through the top loops, and as we go along, I'll show you why you don't want this first row super tight. Okay, I got 2 more beads to add on. So I'm not going to move anything. I'm just going to keep going here. Black. Slide it over and hold that bead in place. And as you can see, it's coming along. So that looks like the end of the base row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. There's 13. Somewhere along the line I missed a bead. That's okay. I'm going to keep going ahead with this, and because whether it's 13 or 15, it's still going to be the same idea. So now what I want to do is I'm going to start the next row. Now for me to start the next row, what I need to do for this is, what I do is I'll go around here one more time without picking up any beads, because this helps me to, with that extra loop around here, the beads aren't so floppy and there's not much give with the thread. You want a little bit of give, but you don't want it so that the beads are so loose that it doesn't catch on properly. So all I did was just loop around through the red bead, come around through the bottom of the black and up through the top, and end up in the same spot where I started. Okay, now to start the second row, I want to pick up a black bead and a red bead. Now these are going to be the same colors as black and red, but they're going to be over, like if you ever see how bricks lie, that's what it's going to look like. So if you could see, there's 2 loops, 1, 2. So what I want to do is go to the second loop, push my needle and thread underneath it, and then slide my needle and thread with the beads on all the way through. Next, what I want to do is come up through the black bead, push my needle and thread through, all the way through, and just gently tug it. Now you see how neat the beads are starting off? So that's good, because they're kind of laying halfway at the halfway point of the middle of each bead. Okay, now I'm going to take my needle and thread, go through the top of the red bead, and I want to slip my needle underneath that thread, pull it through, and then I want to take my needle and go back under the bead. I don't want to go back under the thread, because that's where it creates the loop and catches, and then go back through the red bead, just like that, and pull it through. And there's the starting of the second row. Now for the third bead, the next beads that you want on, and for the remainder of the row, all you need to do is pick up one bead at a time. So I'm going to pick up the black bead next, go underneath that loop that's right there, push my needle and thread through, push or pull it. I push the needle through and then I pull it, and then I want to go up through, just up through the black bead, taking care that I don't go back under that loop, and pull my needle and thread through. So that's the third bead. So now we're going to repeat that process all the way to the end. Now the pattern or the design that I'm going for, that I have in mind, is just a simple diamond pattern using traditional fire colors. So my next color is going to be yellow or orange. And over time you're going to see that the pattern, over time you're going to see that the design will start taking shape of a diamond. I'm going to pick yellow. And then another yellow. And an orange. Now when I'm pulling the thread through, so I'm going through the loop, underneath the loop, pulling it through, and then when I come up through the bead, I'm not pulling it so tight that the beads, that the bricks, like that the rows don't crunch in on each other. So I'm just pulling it just enough so that the beads kind of click into place and they line up beside each other. And now we're on to the last bead, and I'm going to find that loop that's on the end here. Just going to maneuver some of the beads around, wriggle them a bit. And I'm going to find that loop over here. And just go under it. And then goes through the black bead here. Okay, now I can let that go of my pinky. And there. That's the beginning of my diamond brick stitch pattern. So I'm going to just continue with this. And remember that whenever you start a new row, you pick up 2 beads, and then after the first 2 beads, then it's a single bead to the end of the row. So I'm going to carry on and meet you at the top. Okay, so now we're at the top or the bottom, depending on what you decide. I'm going to count this as a top just because I know I have enough thread to make my little loopy thing that I can use to hang my hook to add the extra 6 beads I need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my only 2 beads this time, and because I'm at the top I just need 2 black. So what I'm going to do is take my needle and thread and go under the second loop just like I would starting a new row. Pull that through, and I'm going to just repeat that as if I was doing a long row. Go up through that first bead, just like that, and then I'm going to go back down underneath the loop there, pull that through, and then I'm going to go back through the second bead, up through the bottom, through to the top, and then because I want to add on either a fish hook or not a fish hook, but fish hook earrings, or just a straight earring, like a bar earring that just goes through the ear. I'm gonna, and I'll use a jump ring for that. I'm just gonna pick up 4 beads, and I got my 4 beads on my needle, and I'm gonna go through that bead there, pull it through, and I'm gonna go through. I'm just gonna turn it, be a little bit easier, and I want to go through the loop, come underneath the loop, pull it through, go up. Now I want to go up under all 3 of these beads again, up through the 3 beads like that, pull it through, take my needle and thread, go through all the 3 beads on the other side, and do the same thing for that side. So I'm going to do that, just go up and around one more time. Pull my thread through, go up through the beads. So sometimes it'll allow you to go through 3 times the beads, maybe even 4. 4 is kind of pushing it, 3 is good. And then that's the spot where I'll hold my where I want to hang my finding from. And then now I'm going to start the bottom, and I'm just going to repeat those same steps as I did for the top all the way to the bottom until I get to the top 2 here.